Hey everyone, Tyson Brando here with RE/MAX Escarpment, the Brando Group.
And I'm Tanya DiNicolantonio.
Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about something very new. It's going to be an interesting process, how things are going to develop. It's called TRESA is what we're going to talk about, and it's going to affect the real estate industry as a whole.
TRESA is Trust in Real Estate Services Act, and it replaces the law that was put into force in 2002, which was called REBA. It had a less consumer-focused name back then. It was the Real Estate Business and Brokers Act. So we're focusing more on the consumer now.
A detailed overview or an overhaul of how real estate agents will interact with consumers. So it's an update to all of the consumers' rights, the brokerage responsibilities, and it's going to bring about a lot of changes in the way that deals are done from start to finish. So we're going to talk about that.
And the way we interact with clients too will change. The basics stay the same. The services we offer will remain the same, but the way we disclose our services and the way we protect our clients is changing because the entire market has changed and the way business is conducted in general is evolving.
And we really feel like this is coming to effect on December 1st, 2023. We're mid-September right now. It's coming to effect December 1st, and not a lot of people we're finding are talking about this right now.
And the reason for that is because we don't have a lot of clarity. In fact, there's a RICO information guide that's coming, and we don't even have it yet. We're less than 2 months out from it. We don't have it for us to get to know it and be acquainted with what the new requirements of us are going to be. So there's a transition period going on right now. We're learning, and we're going to do our best to get you the information as we get it, especially as to how it affects you and the way you buy and sell your homes.
So we do know that this RICO brochure will need to be provided to whom?
I don't know this well enough yet. So I've got notes. I got a cheat sheet today just to make sure that I say this accurately. It's called the RICO Information Guide. It's sort of along the lines of the working with a realtor form that we've always used. That has been a part of our offers for as long as I can remember. And it outlines the relationship between the brokerage and the client. I've often said to clients, you're not signing a contract with me, you're signing it with RE/MAX in our case, because I could walk in front of a bus and your deal still has to happen. RE/MAX will protect that client and take care of their interests. So that continues. The brokerage is who the contract is with, between the brokerage and the consumer, and it's an agent who facilitates things, works. But this information guide, I think the big change is the timing, because we are now going to be required to provide the RICO information guide to every client before providing any services.
Before they're even a client. Now, many times we would have a conversation with somebody who wants to view a property and would like to go see this property. And a lot of times you would wait to see how the relationship and how that would develop, even wanted a relationship, before you would start going over a lot of the details. Now that is completely different. So if you're starting your journey and you're wanting to go look at properties, you will experience, or should experience, if the agent is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, giving you this information before they even meet you.
And we still don't know whether we'll be able to provide it electronically. I have to suspect so. It makes sense to email these things. It'll be so much easier if we can send these things by email. And most people are happy to get something by email. They don't want to have to drive out to meet us to get a printed guide. That seems a little archaic, but here's some of the content, not all of the content, but some of the highlights of what's going to be in the guide. There will be benefits of being a client of a registrant, because you don't have to be a client. The duties and obligations registrants, that's us, owe to clients. The obligations of clients, not a ton, but there's going to be a few things that a client agrees to do. The risks of receiving assistance as a self-represented party. So if you don't want to be a client, you have the option to represent yourself, but there are inherent risks in doing that, and those risks will be outlined apparently in this information guide. It will include the content of agreements with brokerages, including who gets paid and how, and that a brokerage is prohibited from representing more than one client in the same trade unless they disclose the details of that conflict.
Which is like, we've done that in a certain way, like forever. Where as long as, even in working with a realtor, we've had the differences between being a client and being a customer. Being a customer would mean that as realtors, we would deal honestly and fairly and not misrepresent the property. But you were kind of self-represented at that time.
But not really, because you were getting some services. And that whole customer thing is gone. There is no customer relationship available. Everyone has to be either self-represented and get 0 services from the brokerage, or they have to choose a client relationship. I think that's clarity that we needed because the customer relationship was so confusing.
Yeah.
It was hard to describe. It was hard to not cross lines. It was a tough one. So this is better.
For sure. So that is one big change that is happening, this brochure. And we know as a buyer, as a person, you don't really care about this stuff. This is not exciting. Like when you think about wanting to buy a home, it's like, I want to go out and look at properties. I want to buy the property. I want to move in. How quick can I get in? But this is just something that you're going to have to go through in the process, and it's going to be new for whoever you work with for a little while too.
True.
So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds.
So our apologies ahead of time for being annoying, because we're not trying to annoy you. We're just trying to be compliant, and the motives behind all of this are good. They're trying to protect consumers. In doing that, there will be some growing pains and there will be a learning curve. And I have a feeling some of this is going to be open to being tweaked.
For
I
sure.
don't think this is all written in stone.
This is kind of like maybe a bit of a pilot project.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Now, along with this, there are several other changes. So that brochure is just one of the many changes that are happening. What's the next?
So there's another exciting change coming with TRESA for some people who've been begging for this. We are now going to be able to give sellers the option of disclosing the contents of competing offers. We missed the frenzy where people were actually in competing offers every single time. But during that process, buyers were so frustrated that they couldn't know what the next person was offering. And that's now going to be a choice.
This will be a good change in a way, but we're going to break it down into pros and cons for sellers and pros and cons for buyers. And really, there's no perfect system for this because it's a complicated process. So trying to figure out where there's some balance for either party is good. Now, one thing can still be said is that the seller still gets to call the shots during this process.
With a little fail-safe for buyers in there.